few days ago, I had an email come across my desk. Another business would like to get a galvanized gate installed. I'll show you a picture here. You can see my email thread here. Okay, there you see the picture. Fairly simple gate. It's a 4-inch Schedule 10 panel, I believe, and it's about 30 feet total, galvanized, and these posts will be pre-galvanized. And then they want mesh like that there in the middle. So not too complicated, but I did get the go-ahead on this job, so I got to get a down payment, and then I will get the material ordered, and we'll get going on it. It took me about a week to get this material, but as I started working on this project, I realized this was going to be a little bit more of a challenge than I had originally expected, because there's no easy way to cut a 45-degree miter, or more than 45 degrees, on a round piece of pipe, especially this thick. As I went along, I tried a few different methods, and the methods I tried got the job done, but it was not very efficient. I was just kind of estimating my 45 degrees there, and a lot of times I wouldn't get it right the first time, and then I'd have to go back with the angle grinder and sharpen the angle up a little bit, or make it so that the top and bottom were more parallel with one another. And after some trial and error, I was able to get some pretty decent miter cuts, but I had not yet found a very consistent solution for doing this, so it was quite a challenge and a lot of trial and error. Eventually, I came up with this solution, which was to take one of the miter cuts that I'd made that was exactly the right angle, to cut it off like I'm doing here, and cut that in half, and then use that as a template, you can see there what I'm doing, on the next cuts. And I also did the same thing with the 90-degree cuts. I believe they sell these online, basically templates you can put on your pipe and cut it that way, but I really didn't want to wait for that to come. Here I'm coping my pipe for the support here in the middle of this gate. Somehow I miscut these two angles. So I went back to the computer and reworked the angle to make sure that I got the exact angle that I needed. So I recut it, and then it fit up just fine. Eventually I found a slightly easier solution to cutting this pipe. What I did is I took this guard off of my bandsaw, and then I was able to actually put this 4-inch pipe in there and cope it just a little bit easier. I was also able to use this saw for cutting my miter cuts, sort of. But this saw didn't cut all the way through, so I cut about 90% of the way, and then I had to finish it off with a hand grinder. So it didn't end up working the best. And that turned out to be an issue, trying to get each end parallel with the other. I got a big gap there, so I'm gonna have to recut that and try to make the other end plumb with it. After a little bit of trial and error, I got something that was somewhat satisfactory. Although I still had a decent sized gap there, I was able to take a little piece of plate and fill it in there. Make sure you always wear a respirator when you're welding galvanized. You do not want to breathe in the fumes from this stuff. And ideally, you should have a fan running to take all the fumes out of your shop. I didn't have that, so I just tried to weld a little bit at a time and then go out and take a break and come back to it. Once I had gotten these gates all welded and ground down, I tried to find a solution to paint these welded areas. I tried ordering some cold galv on Amazon, but the color was completely different and I really didn't want that. So I put some clear coat over the weld and I thought that looked okay, but as you'll see later in the video, I found a better solution. Then I started making these latch plates, and as opposed to paying somebody to cut this out with a CNC machine, I figured I would just drill a couple of holes, one in each end, and then use a hand grinder to cut the space between them. And that worked out pretty well. And I cut the corners off and ground this thing down so it's a nice smooth corner. Then I went ahead and got this first one welded to the gate itself, making sure that it was level with the gate. Then I repeated that process and made a second latch plate for the other side. Then it was time to cut these 6-inch mounting posts down to 7 feet each. This was quite a challenge because this is Schedule 40 6-inch pipe. It's very heavy, and my little bandsaw wouldn't cut all the way through it, so I had to make one cut and then spin this pipe around, make another cut, and keep doing that until I got all the way through it. Then it was time to put the hinges on. After I'd waited about another week, I had this piece of 3/4 inch expanded metal galvanized, and I got that cut out and welded in to both of these gate panels. And here was that better solution I was talking about for the paint. I went down to Home Depot and picked up some chrome paint. That almost matched this galv perfectly, so I'm quite happy with how that came out. Now, when I got on site here, I realized that the area they want to put this gate is pavement, and I was not informed of that ahead of time. The communication on this job was a little bit lacking, so I told the customer it was going to cost extra for me to go rent a core drill and get some holes drilled through this pavement. But when I got back from Home Depot and tried to put this attachment onto this core drill, the fitting was different, so I couldn't attach it. I got the 10-inch because it was the biggest one they had, but I had to take that back and swap it out for an 8-inch, which actually had the proper fitting on it. Thankfully, Home Depot was only 1 minute away, so I didn't have to drive too far. After a little bit of trial and error, I got this machine figured out. And honestly, I'm really beginning to like this machine. I think I might buy one for myself. Since the size of this hole saw was only 8 inches, I had to drill a whole bunch of holes in order to get my desired 18 inches for these 6-inch posts. Then I started digging these holes, all by hand. That was a lot of work, going 3 feet down in the ground. Then mixing up the concrete and getting this left side post set. The nice thing about big posts like this, especially being pipe and being hollow in the center, you can just put it in there and level it up, and for the most part, unless somebody bumps it, it'll just stay there while the concrete sets. Then I repeated this process for the other side. But when I went to measure between these two posts, I found that I was going to come up 3 1/4 inches too short for what I made the gate. So I went back to the shop and took about 1 5/8 off of each side of this gate. Then touched up the weld spots again. After a few days, my brother and I went out to install this gate. We grabbed the first panel here and put it on the left side, but then I realized the hinge placement from left to right side are slightly different, so we swapped that out and put it on the right side instead. These were fairly easy to go in. I put the top hinge in first, and then had my brother just kind of wiggle that gate around until I could get that bottom hinge in. Then we did the same thing with the left-hand panel. After we got these gates set, I realized that I had not set these posts quite plumb, so the gates wanted to swing by themselves one way or another. But when the gates close, they should have a padlock or some type of lock pin in it, so it shouldn't be an issue. And there it is, all completed. I'm so happy to have this job done. I did not charge enough for this project, so I'm putting in a lot of extra time and not making a lot of extra money. But sometimes that's how it goes. You win some, you lose some. That's gonna be it for this video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, if you enjoy this kind of content, consider subscribing to my channel, because Lord willing, I will keep sending you content just like this. Until next time, God bless.